Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. Wishing you a very happy and healthy, and maybe even the best of the best and the happiest of the happiest Saturday mornings from over here in Helsinki, Finland. It's been bright and sunny ever since 1:30 a.m., which I was actually awake for, so I can tell you that from experience. And we got plenty to talk about on good old Bitcoin because we did see the CMEs close both their weekly and monthly yesterday on Friday. Also CME expiration as well, although I'd imagine most traders have already made their decisions probably at least a few weeks before. And on top of that, we do see that the regular month for spot markets is closing actually tomorrow night on the daily total closure. So there's a lot of things that I want to follow up on, not just the short and medium term timeframes, but also talk about the higher term timeframe setups as well, as Bitcoin is starting to get into that range of fuckedness. Anyways, I will be very likely on Twitch later today. I've really been enjoying the more intimate settings on the more intimate setting on Twitch. So I want to massively thank everyone for coming out to those because it's been really fun just shooting the shit, watching a little bit of price action when price action demands some attention, and for the rest of the time just having a nice little chat. Anyways, I'll probably be on. I need to run a few errands and eat a shit ton of food somewhere along the way. Bless you also. And I'll probably start at, I don't know, somewhere around like 3 maybe my time. We'll see what it ends up being, assuming that nothing goes drastically wrong. On top of that, I will also be uploading to my gaming channel for anyone who happens to give a fuck there. For anyone who's interested in strategy games, especially Total War, I would love some more friends over there at Total Krown. Of course, if that ain't you, then no, all good. You don't feel obligated to go on over. It's completely just for people who are interested in such things, of which I am the biggest nerd with it. So I've been really enjoying that actually recently as well. Other than that, let's take a look at the Krown Trading application, which can be found at app.krowntrading.net. We are seeing that the open interest is still kind of caught within that region between about 2.5 billion and about 2.6 billion. We've been caught within this $100 million range, which is kind of interesting to see that the aggregate number is about the same as what we saw even when we were just looking at the top 3 exchanges. Now looking at, I think, about a dozen exchanges right here. So I am curious to see what the open interest is going to look like if and when Bitcoin does break the higher term time frame range. Higher term time frame range meaning the 10.5 area to the up, or well, more like 9800-ish area to the upside on a daily closure, or below 8600 to the downside again on a daily closure. Both of those is what I'm looking for to kind of re-announce this, because it is still experimental. As you know, all disinformation is new for myself, as we haven't really been compiling all these major exchanges before, and I don't believe that there's been any efficacious data aggregator that I've seen do that. So this is all fresh, and as far as I know, we really don't have like a baseline to kind of measure off of. So I'm keeping a keen eye on that. But other than that, it's really not anything new on the top end metrics here on the dashboard. Bitcoin dominance is pretty much flat. Total market cap more or less flat as well, and fear and greed index unchanged from yesterday to today. So I suppose now it's a good time to go into the actual price action analysis charts themselves, and I really want to spend some time on the higher term timeframes here. As we spoke about on the daily and 2-day, both setting in higher lows, I think it's a lot easier seen on the 2-day for spot price action, and actually on the daily for CMEs. But regardless of that fact, above all major moving averages here, while they do have all of them having positive slopes, I would say that is looking good for a move back up to the top side of the range, probably 9,800. And that doesn't necessarily make me full on bullish or anything like that. I need to be very, very careful with the way that I express myself here, because this is the easiest to maybe fuck up on my own behalf. And realistically, that does look about right on the higher term timeframes. I do believe that we are seeing this hidden bullish divergence play out, and it still has a little bit more to go here, as we did make lower lows on 2-day RSI and higher lows on price action. So bears using more force to push down, but getting less of the way is what that essentially insinuates. And usually that's going to be good enough to play out the top side of the range, which in this case, the top side of the range here, just coming in from our last little rejections, anywhere between 9,800 to 10,000-ish region. This is all coming along the fact that we will see the 2-day RSI confirm above the exponential as well, which I just generally like. And on top of that, we do see from the weekly close yesterday on CMEs, we have a confirmed bounce off the top side resistance, former resistance, now testing as support for the weekly falling wedge, the weekly falling wedge here that's been baking for about a year now, all the way since June. Highs at 14,000. So I do put a lot of weight on on this. I usually don't care for patterns on actual price action, but I do care for them on oscillators like this. It just seems to get it right more often. I'd say that the hit rate of it goes up significantly, probably doubles from like 30% to 60%, but I'd have to look at research regarding that. Anyways, what I'm looking for next is I'm looking for the moving average on this to get above the breakout point as well, kind of providing some more support there, and for continuation coming into next week. Like, actually, continuation must happen next week. Otherwise, if it dribbles back down under this trend line, it will imply weakness and very likely will break back down into the range. And then I look for a move down to the bearish control zone. But as long as that ain't happening, this looks good to me. It looks good for a retest of a breakout, and so far, holding up valiantly. We are going to see momentum oscillators continue to the upside as well, as the close has already been confirmed. And other than that, I don't really have anything else to look at on CMEs except for the monthly. The monthly did not really give us all that much. It literally closed right on the precipice of the last kind of prior high. I would say that that's an overall good setup, but does it confirm anything in and of itself? No, I'd say that that's way too close to really call it. You really want to see it close like $100 above the last closure right here, and then that'd look good for a move very likely into the 11,000s, probably 11.5 region, maybe even all the way up to 12.5 right around here. It's not really too much in its way after that, but realistically, we do have the spot price action closure tomorrow for the monthly, so we might as well just look at that right now. And as you can see, it actually is healthily above that last stutter step that we saw in February 2020. So I would say that closing here or higher, or just anywhere really above 93.50 looks good. The more the better, obviously, and would imply overall health for, at the very least, another test back up to about 11,000-ish region. But as we've been saying, that's really going to have a domino effect to the upside if that were to happen. The reason why I say that is because just by even taking out this last high that we have within this consolidation, so hold on. In order to get this idea out properly, let's actually start with the lower term timeframes and then build it up to the higher term timeframes. Okay, yes, I think that's the right way to do it, actually. All right, so starting off with the 4 hour right here. As we can see, it is looking like an ascending, not an ascending triangle, but a symmetrical triangle, as we do have two competing trend lines, both descending and ascending, respectively. Well, I guess I already have it like this, coming in from our 10,000 high right here and coming in from our 8,500 low right here. And so as long as we're caught within this bounds, I do want to be very, 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 very deliberately clear that, technically speaking, symmetrical triangles are usually continuation formations, but not always. I mean, if it breaks out below the bottom side support of about 8,600 and rising actually more like 8,700 now, I will get bearish for a nice move down deep into the 7,000s, probably even perhaps even into the upper 6,000s. But for right now, you can see that it's hinting a lot more at the upside. But of course, I don't really get excited for an upside move until we actually take out this blue box right here, the top side resistance of it. That would initiate a measure move actually all the way up to 11,000. The reason why that is of particular interest is because it would not only resolve this as a continuation formation, but it would also imply a target higher than the last high that we had in early February at about 10,500 on BitMexico. So any sort of move back above that region, I would look for extension realistically to the next weekly pivot, which is all the way at 11,500. So $1,000 move from there. So that's kind of like the avalanche of effects if Bitcoin can take out that area. And realistically, that 11.5 area is where the super macro comes into orbit, because anywhere above there, we have a humongous change in behavior from a volume profile perspective. I mean, shit, you can even see over here, even above 10.2 on a weekly closure, or a wick above 10.5, not even on a closure, but just a wick, is also a degree difference above this region as well from a volume profile perspective. So we're kind of moving into that area of I mean, what do you even want to call this? I just call it like no business has really been done here. So that's going to imply that it's very likely to kind of float onwards and upwards, and generally just be overall bullish, as that would be the resolution. And a major change of behavior from more than a 2.5 year rejection that we've seen here from January 2018, a couple times in February 2018, a month later, then again about a year later in July 2019, then again in August 2019. So all of this is institutional order flow dynamics at play. A lot of big players getting their short fails here, and you can always see big breakdowns from this region. Well, that's by design. So getting back above there would imply a humongous change in macro behavior, and that's when I generally get bullish for a move to 16,000 and 20,000. But it's not until that happens when I really start to speak about that, or well, maybe speak about it. I'm talking talking about it right now, so calling myself out. But I don't really trade for or trade with that in mind until that happens. So I need to be very clear with stating that because, like I said, right now we're kind of in the fuckboy range here, as Bitcoin has neither confirmed to the upside nor confirmed to the downside. It is looking healthy, it is looking good, and the monthly is poised to set up for a nice closure here, but it needs to follow through, and that's the big thing at the end of the day. Price action first, everything else second, as well. That's how your P&L is going to be marked off of at the end of the day. So with what we're looking at right here, we do actually need to go back down to lower term timeframes because there is a lot to be said about them. So this will confirm what we're looking at right now on the daily will confirm as another lower high, and actually air the probabilities on the bear side back again. If Bitcoin does confirm this as a local high. How would it confirm it as a local high? Well, I would say that same pivot that we looked at yesterday at 9,300 still applies. As long as Bitcoin's above it, there's no local high here to be spoken of. However, if Bitcoin were to even just violate yesterday's spike low at about 9,300, or especially close a 2-hour delta below 9,300, that would confirm this as a lower high. And I would at the very least be looking for a move back down to the low side of the range, probably somewhere around 8,700-ish region. So that's a $600, maybe even plus play, and also gearing the odds on the side of the downside once again. Now, we did get that move down to test 9,300 yesterday, as we spoke about, and so far the reaction has been very good. So I do think that the ball is still in the Bulls' court here. Obviously, they're a lot closer to breaking out of their top side of the range, which means that, well, it's it's more likely, I suppose. But until it actually happens, it's all just hearsay. And how many times have we seen these massive fake outs in a range like this? So this is why I call this range the fuckboy range, just because there's no it's obviously looking good here, but there are also some issues as well. From a momentum oscillator perspective, we can see that actually 4-hour Stokes have really cooled off quite a bit here, and if it can hold the bullish control zone, that actually look pretty damn good. Let's see what it would take. So a 4-hour dildo closure above 9,500 will actually force these babies back up, and we're trading 95.34 right now on GDAX. So by the time that I get this video out in 2 hours and 5 minutes, we should have clarity on that situation. And if that does happen, if we get this next 4-hour closure above 9,500, I would look for another test up to probably 9,800. Momentum oscillators will turn back up. Obviously, 4-hour will regain the RSI and also regain the bullish control zone, which has kind of been allergic to ever since a couple weeks ago, middle of May, it looks like. So I would be looking for that to insinuate another test of the top side of the range, which is not really where this trend line is right here. I'd much rather look at it from a horizontal perspective, and that would look a lot more like about 9,800 to 9,950-ish region. That's where things start to get very, very interesting. With a 4-hour close above this guy right here, I would look for that extension to 10.5. With a 12-hour close even above 9,800, just even a little bit lower, I would look for that same move and the same sort of implications that we spoke about earlier on this video here. Let me just make sure that I'm recording. I am recording, and the microphone's working, so that's good. Very cool. Anyways, historical volatility percentile is also set to expand here. I mean, this has been a nice contraction phase, so this is setting up for a nice expansion phase. But when is the implied move on this is the real question. We can see that it's the moving average on this continues to remain to the downside, so it would still say that we are contracting here, building up a big case. And building up a big case likely does lead to the resolution of the formation that we're looking at right now. And it would suggest a very strong likelihood of breaking, statistically speaking, somewhere around here. So in this next week of price action, I actually do think that it's very relevant to think that Bitcoin will resolve either above 9,800 or below 8,600 and then play out those next big moves. I didn't really speak about the downside move at length, but if Bitcoin does break 8,600, I would look for a quick move down to 8,100. Probably a small bounce there, and then continuation to at the very least 74, 7,500, and then realistically, I do think that it actually would reach down to 6,900 if that were to happen. But for right now, it's just less interesting to talk about because it's not as relevant. Anyways, I already have the measure move plotted out right here too. If we were to have broken to the downside, just like I showed to the upside, that's also along the 0.5 Fibonacci tracement, and also around this major breakout that we saw from a couple months ago in April, early April it was. 618 obviously coming in about 6,900 as well. So I do think that one of those two areas would be a very good shot for Bitcoin to potentially put in a bottom if it did break below 8,600 again, if it did break below 8,600. But for right now, hinting at the upside a little bit more, and I'm curious what the other low-term time frame oscillators are suggesting right now. Let's look at the 3 hour really quick. 3 hour is looking like it wants to turn back up again, rejecting getting out of the bullish control zone. I like that read actually a lot. Let's see what it's going to turn back up again at. Yep, 95.17. So basically the same as the 4 hour, which it should be. 2 hour is going to show 9,400. Momentum remains the upside, and look at that, plenty of room to go. Also bouncing off of proverbial trend line right here, so I like that too. And hourly, I'm sure, is actually in the same vein. In fact, it is. So we're actually going to see them all align. So so with that said, and also looking at historical volatility percentile, I do think that we're going to get another test at the very least to like 9750, maybe 9800. How Bitcoin reacts there is going to be very telling for how it likely sets up for this next monthly closure coming tomorrow on spot price action, which can really change, or not change, but drive my next major biases going on into the month of June. Which so far look good, but again, I want to see follow through. As far as the medium-term timeframes go, we still see 12-hour Stokes way up there. In fact, they are meeting the trend line right now, so that'd be the big competing narrative to what I'm saying right now. As the 12-hour Stokes have been, well, they've been the fucking cheat code. I hate to admit it, but it's true. It is true, although the 12-hour also looks like a nice higher low being put in right here as well. So at the very least, another try to the upside first. Let's see how it reacts if and when it does get there. And momentum will remain to the upside from the 12-hour perspective as long as Bitcoin price action is above 91, basically 9,200. So it's got a nice buffer zone right here. I also like that how that's even below our most short-term support at 9,300. So overall, it very likely does get a couple tries here. And this is going to be further helped out by the daily, actually, which I forgot to cover yesterday. But the daily rejected going into the bearish control zone for the daily Stokes and turned up. This was on the 27th and confirmed on the 28th. And I forgot to talk about this yesterday when it was probably most relevant. But that was on this, breaking this area right here, which to me is also a sign of, at the very least, another try to the upside and likely strength as well. But I do need to be careful with the sort of optimism that I put into my words because I don't want to incite the wrong sort of people. Anyways, plenty of room here, and obviously will stay to the upside as long as Bitcoin, like I said, is above even 9,000. So they're all kind of building on each other. The higher term timeframes are showing momentum remains to the upside with even lower prices, and the lower term timeframes obviously vice versa of that. But it's that that is naturally speaking what it should look like if things are going to have a legitimate chance to actually break. And looking at historical volatility percentile on those lower term timeframes after those nice consolidation phases does suggest that we are going to be looking at resolution less than a week now. I think is very likely. Even on the daily, we're starting to get back down into the teens. And as soon as it starts to get into the single digits again, I would say keep an eye out because this is setting up. It's very obviously setting up for a big break, and that should be good enough for a multi-$1,000 move. Like I said, 6,900 the downside ultimately, or about 11.5 to the upside if the Boolaws win this one out, and Bitcoin charging its way up now to 95.69. Beautiful number, baby. Beautiful fucking number. Show me those girthy green dildos in my face because I absolutely love them in and around my mouth. And hope my mom listens to this. Jesus Christ, man. Anyways, okay, so what else we want to look at while we're here? Let's go look at the 2-day again. 2-day momentum oscillators will actually turn back up to the upside as well, which, by the way, closes tomorrow night with the monthly if Bitcoin price closes above 95.20. And 95.20, again, would be above that monthly pivot. So all these things are working together. Monthly momentum oscillators are turning back up as well and will remain to the upside as long as Bitcoin closes above 77.50. And monthly RSI is looking like it's going to confirm above the exponential as well. So this is a very good setup. And I do think that Bitcoin's going to have a legitimate chance here. And if I had to call it right now, it looks like it's going to do it. But am I trading for that right now? Fuck no. I'm more than happy to wait, and I will be patient with this. And the triggers for my trades are pretty damn obvious and pretty damn well documented. It's been the same for the last 2 or 3 weeks, actually, as we've been looking at that 9,800-ish region as an area of nice distribution and the area of 8,600 of nice accumulation. Let's see who wins the everlasting battle of Bula versus Bera. And then as a trader, jump on the right side, because I just don't understand this gang-like mentality with like always having to be bullish or always having to be bearish or always having to say that Bitcoin's going to like 100,000 billion kajillion or Bitcoin's always going to zero. It's like it's not doing either of those. Like, how fucking ridiculous do you sound? Beanie Babies still trade. Beanie Babies still fucking trade, for the love of fucking God. BitConnect, which has litigations against it, still trades. But are things also going to the moon as well? Probably not. Probably fucking not, because this is a massive experiment right here, which is in its infant stage, and for the most part, no one gives a fuck about this, and they shouldn't, because literally it's used for almost nothing. So it's probably best to have a little bit more of a well-balanced view on this sort of a thing. It's a massive social experiment for right now, and most people don't even really know much about it. So have to call a spade, man. Like, don't get me wrong, I like Bitcoin too, and I would be more than happy if it does fulfill some of the more lofty intentions that it has. But hey, at the end of the day, man, if this experiment fails, no reason to go down with the ship as well. Traders trade, my friends. Traders trade. So always understand that this channel is coming from the perspective, from the filter of someone who's a trader first, and like a Bitcoin interested type person second. So yeah, and also looking at it from a daily perspective as well. If we take out yesterday's high, or what's the high of this consolidation thus far, 96.23, that's probably going to be looking good for continuation again, at the very least to the top side of this range, 9,800. Play out that hidden bullish divergence and then decide from there. So things are setting up for another test of the top side of the range. Does it break or not? I won't make a comment on that. The areas are what they are. You don't need my opinion on that. We can look at probabilities, however. And 9,800 on a daily, or let's use current bars. I'll use 9,800 on a daily close and 9,300 on a daily close. Keep in mind though, 9,300 is only relevant for the short term range, and it would very likely propel another $600 move to the downside to like 87, maybe a little bit more than that, especially if it breaks. Now we're talking like 2,000 maybe. And to the upside, this is talking about the higher term time frame range, 9,800, which then propels move to 10.5 very likely, not overall, not in the snap of fucking fingers, but overall. And that's where things get interesting once again, because above 10.5 I'm looking for a move to 11.5, and above 11.5 I'm just generally Krown's run with bulls at that point, I guess. So let's see what it's showing right now. Let me stop talking. Okay, so 9,800. Okay, so the probabilities are massively now in favor of the downside, not what we were seeing yesterday or the day prior. So the probabilities have now shifted in the favor of the bears. So if the bears are going to confirm a lower high here, they do it now. Or at least they have their big chance now. It's 19.5% versus just under 40%, which is massively in the favor of the bears. But again, that is for the short term, and with Bitcoin pointed back up towards 9,600, it's looking like it's going to give another test to the top side of the range. I mean, shit, we might even hear this alert get ticked off while we're on here right now. We can go down to a 12-hour as well, and I'd imagine the probability is going to be, more or less in the same vein. Above target probability of 9,800 on the next closure is 11.25. Below 9,300 is 34.45%. On a 4-hour, I'm curious as well. Upside target probability is about 0.25%. Below target probability is 24%. So that's very interesting. I would have not expected to see it that high for the downside, even on this low of a time frame. When Bitcoin's setting in a higher low right here on the lower term time frame, it has solidified that already, all the way up to, I believe, a 10-hour. Yeah, it has on a 10-hour, maybe even a 12-hour. Yeah, it has on a 12-hour as well. So all of these are looking good for a continuation move back up to like 98, 99-ish region, and then we'll see if Bitcoin can actually complete the trifecta there, if you will. Let's go check out how traditional markets closed on Friday. 95.60, very strong monthly closure for Nasdaq. Like I said, we got all the easy trades for this one. We were calling bottoms, Jesus Christ, like more than a month ago now, and I'm quite happy with that. I'm not saying this to come off as arrogant, but I do want to highlight the fact that a lot of the media spin and a lot of just the overall spin in crypto Twitter and just Twitter in general was incredibly bearish on traditional markets, and that was not the right thing to do. That was not the right thing to do, and that was actually a big social signaling way that everyone and their mother was fucking bearish, talking about the second wave of coronavirus and we're going to fucking hell and all this bad shit. Understand, the stock market is a forwards pricing mechanism, and when we're talking about today's price action in the stock market, it's trying its best to incorporate price action for the next like 30 years. So is coronavirus going to stay around? Coronavirus is obviously terrible, it's obviously awful, blah 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 blah. Whatever it takes to make me not get banned. Whatever the fuck. No, go fuck yourself. But with coronavirus, yes, it is real, it is bad, blah 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 blah, but it's also very likely going to end. I don't think that anyone's really thinking that this is going, or at least the market would assume that we either find a vaccine or it runs its course or something like that. Of course, is there going to be more viruses in the future? I'm sure there are. We've had plenty in the past 20 years that I remember, you know, swine flu, avian flu, H1N1, whatever the fuck it is, man. But E. coli, I think, was one too. And then now we got the coronavirus. You know, it's probably going to happen again in the future as well. And you can probably see the result. You know, you'll be able to see a similar pattern in the future as well. When everyone gets very, very fearful and something like that, it's a damn good time for the big boys to be buying. And that's exactly what we saw here. This is looking good for new all-time highs coming into June. This was a phenomenal close. I do think that it will probably pull back down to like the 9,000-ish region again, but that's very likely going to be the next big opportunity, because this one is extremely strong. This is extremely constructive. This is climbing the wall of worry, as we've been saying for more than a month now. And I don't see any reason why it's not going to, at the very least, test the prior high at 97.50 and very likely exceed it over the next month or two. It looks very good. E-mini futures for SPY, same sort of thing, maintaining above the 200 simple. Everyone's trying to short this area as well. I did say that it's probably going to head up to about 310, 313-ish region. I still stick with that. I do think that it is going to be setting up for a pretty nasty pullback relatively soon as well. Same thing with NASDAQ, but that's going to be very likely a buy. I don't think that it's going to come back down and retest the lows or anything like that. No, that's not really what it looks like we're doing here. It's looking like it's looking like it's gonna overall over the next month or two retest the prior highs and probably beyond. If NASDAQ leads this one to new high, if NASDAQ's making new highs, this one probably does at the very least test the prior high and probably exceeds it as well. And really, it's not even NASDAQ that's leading. It's two stocks. It's two tech stocks that are putting all of America's economy on their back: Microsoft and Apple. Microsoft actually one of my most favorite traded stocks when I traded traditional markets. I never traded Apple myself. Traded Facebook as the other big tech that I got into, and then SPY as well. But it's funny to see Microsoft. When I was trading it, it was like $35. It must have been like 5-6 years ago now, and now to see it in like literally 5x that, it's like, man, you really don't need I mean, you could have. Yeah, it's like that would have been the cryptocurrency altcoin fans' wet dreams right there. It's like, oh, just a little bit of time, nice good company, doing good things. I'm using their technology right now. It's amazing. I have no idea how it works, but I did put this computer together, which is fucking magic to me, man. It's fucking magic, this shit. How the fuck does everything in there make pixels on the screen that actually make sense to my human eyes? How does anyone actually know how that works? If you know how that works, I'd love to have a massive conversation with you someday. I'm so curious. Does anyone actually know? I don't think that anyone actually does, and I'm convinced that this is alien technology. It has to be. It fucking has to be, man. Anyways, so yeah, overall bullish on this. Probably does pull back. Maybe even as far down as like 285 region, 280-ish region over the next month, but I would be looking at that as an opportunity and generally bullish long term. And I believe that bodes well for Bitcoin. I believe that the closure on NASDAQ, as we've seen for the last 10 years, is likely to continue that trend of Bitcoin just following the traditional markets, and crypto anarchists' wet dreams are going to be doused once again with, I mean, what sort of narrative do you have to perpetuate now? Like, the fucking Fed's been printing out their goddamn assholes. Seems like the economy's okay for right now, at least a little bit, and cryptocurrencies just followed traditional markets the whole way through. In fact, traditional markets are stronger right now because they are close to making new all-time highs. Bitcoin's still 50% down, more than 50% down from its 20,000 high, technically speaking, from a few years ago. Gold, very good closure as well. I pretty much think the same thing here. I do think it's going to get another try to above 1,800. Yeah, I actually, I don't feel it looks good here. There is a lot of bearish divergence built up on the weekly. Does it have a quick move down to like 1640, 1650 first and then reaccumulate there and then try again higher? I think that's actually kind of likely. It is quite tired here. Historic volatility percentile is so beat up and now starting to contract. The feeling that this contraction phase will come to the downside and test some supports at the very least 1640, 1650, and then decide from there. I'm not immediately bullish on it. I do still think long term it looks good, but short term not. Few question mark there. Cardano breaking out actually as well. Did take out the last prior high at 694. Did initiate that next move above 700 as we said. or sorry, up to about 800 as we no, I think I said 720, of which it's obviously exceeding right now. So Cardano's having a chance here as well. Let's go check out the Bitcoin dominance. Very curious to see this right now. What's this looking like? So are we confirming a macro lower high here, and we're going to come back down to 65 even? Maybe. All right, maybe I shouldn't be bearish on altcoins versus Satoshi. Let's go check out Link. Wonder what Link's doing. This is the one to look at, I suppose. Long term, still very good. Still very, very good. I mean, it's just a fucking uptrend, man. This is what a good chart looks like. Yeah, weekly reveals it's looking good as well. I'd be looking for overall move back up to 50,000 Satoshis. Looks very good. Very good. I like that chart. Let's go check out. Here's the one that we should really be looking at right now. Fuck Litecoin. Fuck off, you stupid bitch. Sorry, you're beautiful and you're strong and independent and you don't need no Bitcoin. Well, you do if you want to survive, but well, we'll just pretend that it didn't happen. Mr. Buterol over here looking very good, making new highs out of this consolidation before the rest of the market. So if that's anything to go off of, I would be looking at that as an overall good signal for Bitcoin as well. And I do still say 245 to 255 region is where I'd be looking for on this measured move. Also a breakout out of this ascending triangle right here. I like it. It's looking good. Momentum oscillators on the daily also popping back up again, retaining the bullish control zone, and historical volatility percentile is gearing up for a nice expansion phase after contracting for almost half a year now. So I would be looking for a nice splurt here. 245 to 250 extremely likely, and if that gets extension above the last spike high right here at 252.99, I would look for extension all the way up to 275. So looking very good there. Looking very good. Back on a Bitcoin, and back on to the lower time frames. I guess I'll wrap this up right now. It's already been 31 minutes, so fair enough. Looking like Bitcoin is going to very likely close this 4 hour above that 95 area that we were looking at earlier. That should force the lower term time frame momentum oscillators back up, which will likely insinuate a test back up to the top side of the range at about 98 to 9900 region, right around here. That's where things start to get interesting from a 12-hour or daily closure. Closure above there, and I would interpret that as a resolution to the upside. Immediately target a move towards about 10.5 around the last prior high right here, and if that, I'd be looking for a pullback on that area, on the first pass, of course, as well. But if things were to exceed it or close on a higher high on the weekly, which I believe would be 10,200, I would be looking for extension overall to the 11,500-ish pivot, where the macro comes into place. By the same token, if Bitcoin does take out 9,300 to the downside, or even just take out yesterday's low at 93.23, I would look for extension at the very least. Realistically, I'd look for extension down here. It's probably going to bounce at 9,000, but it's unlikely to stop there. I'd be looking for extension down to 87-ish, 8,700-ish region, and that's where the downside starts to get interesting once again, as well as if Bitcoin does close a 12-hour daily below 8,600, I'd still remain conservative there. I'd be looking for extension down to 81 very quickly. Nice bounce there. Continuation down to 7,500 extremely likely, and then maybe even 6,900. But I want to see that one in real time. For right now, we still got a little bit more until this is fully ready, it looks like, implying a resolution date somewhere around here. So it's getting there. But I really want to see the monthly close tomorrow, and I think that's a good place to leave this off right now. I want to take some time to massively thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's also been good. No, it's been terrible. Fucking hate it. Go fuck yourself. No, just kidding. For all the people who are staying till the very end now, I want to say a massive thank you, man. I'll be back on later, probably on Twitch, assuming that all goes well. If not, then I will be in Discord hanging out there as well. So take care, and until next time.